Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole's Scrapbooks, and I'm coming to you today with a quick technique about how to use one of our border punches to go all the way around your scrapbook layout to kind of make a frame. Now we do sell frame punches that are specifically designed to go around the page, and I've done a video on that before, but I actually had a viewer ask me if you could use the other punches to go around the frame. And so I just wanted to show you guys really quick how that works. So this is an example with the scallop punch, and you can also do this with the lace trim punch. Both of these are punches that stay attached to the paper when you cut. So if you know about our punches, we have papers that when you punch, it leaves the border attached, and then we have some that cut a border off. So you need to be one of the ones that it stays attached. There's not really any way to know that by looking on the website. You'd need to ask me, but maybe if you look at samples of kind of what it looks like after. But for right now, the two current punches that we have that stay attached are the scallop and the lace trim. And so I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate how to do that for you. I really like the way the scallop turned out. I think that's my favorite of these two punches. You can also do it with the lace trim, but it was a little trickier for me to get the corners right on this. I didn't love the finished effect quite as much with the lace trim, but I mean, you might be able to kind of wiggle it around and find a way for it to match better. But the method that I know, you kind of randomly end up with what you get at the end. So in order to do this, you're going to need a piece of paperweight designer paper, not cardstock weight, because we're going to be cutting through two thicknesses at a time. And if you try to do two thicknesses of cardstock, that's going to damage your punch. So I'm going to go ahead and do the scallop. This one is easier, I think. And I like the finished result better. I will show you real quick on a scrap paper kind of what it is with the lace trim, but because this one is so really delicate, you have to really make sure you push down and get through all those holes. And if you can see on here, I kind of messed up at this end. The holes are a little bit distorted because I had to punch through twice to make everything punch through. So my suggestion would be, if you're just trying this for the first time, to use the scallop. We also have one called Scallop Burst that I think would work, but you also have to kind of line up the edges. So the first thing you want to do is take your paper and fold it in half diagonally. Match your corners up really well, and then match all the way along the side so you get a very, very clean, straight edge. And then do it, you know, the most precise folded triangle that you can do, because that's how you're going to get your pieces to line up. Then you take the straight edge, not the diagonal edge, you take the point and you fold it to the other corner, and you're just going to kind of crease that right there to leave a mark, and you do that on both sides. And then take a pen or a pencil and make a mark, just like a dot right where your fold is. And you're going to cut that piece off so it doesn't matter. You're not going to see that later on once you've punched this border. So now take your border punch and you're going to turn it upside down and align this dot on the 90-degree angle side, I guess, right here. Align this dot right there in that upper corner of your punch space. See that right in there? And that way you know you're going to be centered. So then go ahead and pinch it part way, fold it down, and make sure it's up against the fence and punch. Okay, I punched through two papers. My punch didn't pop up. That's really common. Just kind of tap it on your table and it will pop back up. Anytime you have a Creative Memories punch that doesn't want to cooperate, that's going to be your best bet. Now, like with any of our punches, we're going to take the punched design, and you see how there's a blue picture right here on the edge, on these little wings. To line it up, you want to make sure that you've covered up the blue completely. When you can see no blue, you know it's lined up straight. And punch back through. This one's a little tricky because you don't necessarily know exactly where to do it. So make sure that you have this piece as far in as it needs to go, so that you're going to punch through it. And if you punch through again, as long as you're lined up perfectly, it doesn't really matter. But punch all the way through, and we're going to punch right off the edge. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Punching with the little dot in the corner, closer to the 90-degree corner. And then again, punching off the edge. All right, so then when we open this up, we're gonna have that kind of pretty finished edge. Like you can see better not on the white paper here. And so I'm gonna take my confetti and scoot that out of the way. And then you're gonna fold back in the other direction. And what I have found is the easiest is to match this part of the square. Don't try to match these two corners because they might not be exact, but match those pieces of the square. And then here, especially these two are what you want to line up. You want these two pieces to be as identical as possible. And then you're gonna fold in the opposite direction by matching this little uncut space and the corner, and then the cut square in the middle, and then that uncut square. So now I have this piece that has lined back up perfectly. And that's because we started with that dot. So even though we're cutting, you know, these are two separate cuts, it lines up just the way we need it to. And then you're gonna just finish it off, cut off the edge like we did last time. And finish up our corners on both sides. All right, and here's my finished lacy framed edge using the scallop border punch. And I just think that's very pretty. Now you do have the crease in your paper, but I found that if you kind of crease it back the opposite way and smooth it out a little bit, once you get this on your page and get it with your pictures, you know, you don't see it. I mean, it's there, the crease is there, but on, you know, most designer print papers are pretty forgiving of things like that. And so you're just left with this beautiful, beautiful frame. It is not possible to do kind of the exact same thing using the Border Maker cartridge. And that's because the way the Border Maker works, you do need to use this spacing guide to make sure that you are where you need to be. So the Border Maker does the same thing as having a one that stays attached and some that are disconnected. And there are things that you can do with the Border Maker to make a frame, but it's a little bit different. So this one you can use either kind of punch. So here's one that I did. I'm gonna find that white paper again for you. Here's one that I did using the picket fence. And basically you just skip the first and the last square and it leaves this little space in the corners. So you still have a frame. It's a bit of a different look. This one does leave this little strip. They kind of all do that. So you could trim that off. You could weave some ribbon through here and kind of overlap it. That would be cute. One of the things I like to do is just take a square of of contrasting cardstock. This is 1 3/4, and put that here. And then you can take, you know, some embellishments, some paper flowers, some of those things, and decorate these little squares. And I think that can look really cute too. I mean, it's a different kind of a frame that you get with the Border Maker system than you can do with the border punches. But you can do this one on cardstock because you're only cutting through one layer at a time. So here's the other one that I did was with the little fish. And, you know, this would be the same if you wanted to put a little white square in the corner and add a little embellishment or something on that. It still gives a fun look, but there's really no way to make it connect in the corners. And what I did is I took a piece of scrap cardstock right here just to kind of show you how it worked. Because of course with the fish, you cut off the edge. And so there's no way to connect it and go around. I mean, that's just the way that the Border Maker cartridge is. You can't really do around a straight edge and have it be connected. Now, I did try some of our other punches that stay connected. And this is the dips and dots. And I mean, this one looks all right. You could maybe trim off those little triangles if you wanted to. The clouds also, if you wanted to do the clouds, you might just want to do a little pair of scissors and, you know, round that off. And I actually kind of liked the way the picket fence looked. It ended up with a little point right here that I just trimmed off, but I thought it was, you know, not an unpleasant design. So I'm going to show you how to do that one with the picket fence cartridge. I love the picket fence because that is the cartridge that everybody gets. That's the cartridge that comes in your Border Maker system in the box. And right now Creative Memories is giving a bonus cartridge that also comes when you purchase the Border Maker system, but everybody gets this picket fence. And so if you own the Border Maker system, you've got this picket fence somewhere. So I think it's fun to use. And I'm just going to use this piece of scratch cardstock. I like to remind people that the cardstock that comes in our paper packs is photo safe. So it's great to use if you have, you know, if you need scratch paper or you need white cardstock for your layout, you can use it. So to use the Border Maker system, you start with the paper guide, and it comes like this, and you fold out this little paper tray on the bottom. And so I'm going to slide that in. I'm going to line this up here with the paper guide, and then I'm going to flip that out of the way. I've put my cartridge in with the logo to the back so that this is open. And there's these two little teeth right here, and they are going to correspond with these grooves in the bottom of the Border Maker cartridge. And that's the magic right here, are these two pieces connecting. There is a very small little raised arrow, not an arrow, like a little mark to show you where the center is. And these little blue, again, not arrows, but little markings that you can line up with. The first couple of times you may want to line up with these little markings just to make sure that you've got it positioned correctly. So then when you've punched your row, you take it out of this. This is a magnet strip that was holding it in place. And we're going to turn it 90 degrees. And I'm going to line it up with this bottom edge now because I've cut off a little bit. So you don't want to center it for this purpose. You want to line up the bottom edge. And then it's going to get a little tricky at the end when we've cut all the way off. But we're just going to cut right over there. And you can see that it's made that little plus with a little pointy finger coming out. I did try a lot of the border cartridges that we have currently, and this was the one I felt like worked the best. I haven't tried it maybe like with the Bubble Border Maker cartridge. That's one I think you can still get as part of purchasing the Border Maker system. I'll have to try that and see if I can make that one work too. But okay, so now I've cut 3 edges. And this is where it gets a little tricky because now we don't have the bottom of the guide to make sure that we've got this in exactly the right spot. So you're going to want to just center this as best you can and put the flap down and just, try to make sure that it's centered along this guide, and flip this out of the way to cut your final cut. Okay, so that's the one that I liked, and I did just, take my scissors and trim off this little pointy out piece. I didn't love that little piece. I liked to have a little bit more finished edge right here. So that is the one frame that I thought worked the best with the Border Maker system, is with the picket fence cartridge. That does come with the system. But you can just take your piece of scratch paper and punch the bottom, punch one end and turn it and punch the other, and it'll give you an idea of what those are going to look like if you were to try to go all the way around, and decide if you feel like you can tweak it, to make it so it's something that you think looks, like you'd want to use. So I mean, I think that would be really cute, cloud border all the way around, and all I did was just trim off this little piece to even it up. So I hope that if you have not tried making a frame with either the Border Maker system or one of our border cartridges, that this has been helpful for you and will help you kind of see more ways to use either tools you're considering buying for the person that reached out to me, or those of you who already have tools. Always nice to find a new way to use the tools that we have. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any kind of technique or question about Creative Memories products or how to do something, please don't hesitate to ask me, and I will do my best to show you how to do it, or to admit that I don't know how to do it, and maybe then that will motivate me to learn something new. Thank you so much, and happy scrapbooking.